Hayes there's back with another video. So, North London derby, great performance. I love the second half. We played really well, completely dominated the game. Obviously, but straight get into it. So before the game started, I said there was four things I wanted to see from us during that game. I wanted to see how we dealt with the counter attacks. I wanted to see how we, if we failed with the counter attacks, I wanted to see how we dealt with the pressure on the second ball. So say they were to bypass us doing their counters, how we dealt with the second ball. I also wanted to see how quickly we can get back in shape. Once they, if for example we don't get the second ball and they bypass that as well, how we get back into shape and defend in our low block, which was the 4-4-2 that we normally defend in. And then I also wanted to see how we stretch them, because we know the Tottenham defend really well in their shape. They're very compact, they defend in numbers, and they stay very deep. So I wanted to see how we'll be able to break them down. So let's just go through how we dealt with some of the things. So like to do with the counters, our press from the beginning was really good. We pressed them really well. As I always say, Gabriel Jesus, Saka, Martinelli, they play really well. They press very well. The intensity is really high. Xhaka contributed as well. Odegaard, the same thing as well. We pressed them really well. That worked well. And then on the second ball as well, we have the players like Partey in behind. So first of all, when we press with the front five, we have players in behind that who are waiting in position to try and attack the second ball so they can get there in time, which we did really well. There was only one situation whereby we missed the press and the second ball. That was the one that led to the goal. In that situation, we had Saliba coming up, and then he missed the second ball. We also had Partey who missed his press and missed the second ball, and then they counter-attacked us, which then led to the penalty. Obviously, Gabriel made a mistake and all of that stuff happened. But generally, the press was really good. We applied pressure on the second ball. We dropped when we needed to drop back into shape. We dropped back into the shape quickly as well. And then let's go to the part where we had to break them down. I felt like what we saw in this game, we saw from Saka. For me, he plays a bit like, when you think about guys like Frank Ribery and Hazard and guys like that, whereby on the ball, constantly they keep the ball and they continue to run directly at players. They can beat their man 1v1, even when they're in 2v1 situations or 3v1 situations, they continuously go direct at the opponents, drive them. And then when you have a player that continuously drives the opposition, what happens is you move them out of shape, and then you start to create gaps in their shape, which is what Saka was doing all game. The same with Martinelli on the left as well, and the same with Jesus up front. For me, Jesus looks like, see when we used to have Alexis who played up front, where he had that close control, that directness, the ability to get into position to score goals, and then the creativity as well. That's what Jesus is offering us. We haven't had a striker that has this sort of skills and close control since we've had Alexis. This is why Jesus is playing really well. I love his performance as well. Very direct player. So once you have that front three that are so direct on the ball and off the ball, they're getting behind as well, that would disorganize the opposition shape. I said on Twitter yesterday, I said Tottenham didn't defend badly. They defended really well. The problem they had was that we just had three strikers that were continuously direct, with and without the ball. And then after that, we had Xhaka, who continuously made off-the-ball runs into the box. When you constantly make runs into the box, you're going to take attention. It doesn't matter how good you are on the ball or not. If a player is just running into the box or making movements into the box, he's going to get the attention of the opposition's defenders. And that's what he did. The moment he makes all his runs, they have to pay attention to him. And that's what Xhaka offered us. And then, besides the front five, what we had behind them, we had the likes of Odegaard, Partey, Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, Tierney, who continuously played nice balls, or not Tierney, Zinchenko, who continuously played balls into the final third. I think Zinchenko was the player with the highest passing into the final third from the stats that we saw yesterday. And that's because he just continuously kept on recycling the ball. So when we controlled them and we were really patient in our control, we had them pinned back and we continuously recycled the ball into the final third. Once you keep on doing that over and over again, you're just going to keep on creating chances which they can't deal with, and you're just going to keep on getting situations whereby you're pinning them down and you're creating situations that they have to deal with. And when the opposition have to deal with that, there's going to continuously be there's going to be gaps in their shape. That, as I mentioned, was really good. But we kept on continuously recycling the ball. And when the ball got into the final third, we had the likes of Saka, Martinelli, and Jesus, who were constantly direct and creating gaps by just running at them. So that performance was really good. We did really well, controlled the game. In the final third, were direct, disorganized their shape, and created multiple chances. The first half was a bit calmer, but the second half, we completely blew them. We continuously blew them out of the way, created so many chances. I love that performance from us, and I hope we can just continue to keep on showing that performance as well. And I did mention that in January, or after the Euros, is it the Euros or the World Cup? The World Cup? World Cup? After the World Cup, we need to try and get someone in, just so we can, we can be able to give more depth into that position. Because once we have more depth, then we can at least rotate Saka and Martinelli to ensure that they don't get tired, and we can have them available for 38 games next season. Yeah. Regarding the mistake that Gabriel made, yeah, I know he made a mistake. For me, I like him. I do know he's compared to Saliba, who's a lot more secure and doesn't make as much mistakes as him. He does make a bit more mistakes, but I do like his overall performance. Not just when he's defending, but when he's on the ball, creating chances as well. Because he's really good at getting to the final third and playing passes in there to create situations for our team as well. And at the same time, obviously, we do know he can be overly aggressive and he makes his mistakes, which causes an issue. If it continues to happen, then it becomes an issue and we have to start looking for replacement. But at the moment, I do like his overall performance. I do feel like that goal that happened wasn't just him to blame. I know he was to blame for the penalty, but the goal started off from the fact, as I mentioned, three other things that we're supposed to do. We needed to press well. We failed in our pressing in that sense, and then we failed to win the second ball when Saliba and Partey pushed up. We failed in that sense, and then we failed to get back in position because Xhaka and Tierney didn't get. Zinchenko didn't get back in position and not quick enough to then secure that area of the pitch. And then when we did eventually get back in position, our clearance wasn't good enough. We had Saliba who headed the ball back to their team, which then led to the whole situation where Gabriel ended up fouling him. So it was an overall. In terms of that mistake we made, it was kind of similar to some of the mistakes we made against United. But I wouldn't put too much blame into one individual, because once your pressing fails as a whole, it just comes down to the whole team, and there's so many mistakes that ends up happening. But he was at fault for the penalty. But again, as I mentioned, overall his performance was really good. And yeah, great performance. I enjoyed it. See you guys in the next video.